Hello, everyone. This is Kat Unmuted, and I have a very special guest today. This is Jane Bradley, my mentor forever, and has been my inspiration and drive in the business I had as a massage therapist for 9 years, and also with everything I'm doing today. So, Jane, I love
Kat,
having you here.
I love being here. What an honor to be on your podcast.
Awesome. I'm glad you're happy about this.
Oh, not happy, I'm honored.
Good. So tell me and our viewers who you are today, what drives you, what are your passions, anything that defines who Jane is today.
It's an interesting question. Today I am exactly 1 month away from my 88th birthday, and I still feel like I'm in my 50s. I have not changed that much unless I look in the mirror, of course, and then I realize significant changes. But who I am is a creative spirit. I have loved creating something out of nothing my entire life, creating businesses when I was told they would fail and they were enormously successful, becoming a recognized painter, a recognized writer, going to Russia to work during perestroika. Uh, I've had I've had a life I've truly loved living, and not many women can say that, or men. Even the bad times, I have liked it, and I suppose that's from early childhood. I always felt I was given special qualities. I felt I was different, not special as a child or even a young woman, but just very, very different. Does
Right.
that give you a clue?
Oh,
of
no,
who I am?
absolutely. So, what do you think, because you have written a book today that has been published for a couple of months now,
Yes.
and you have lived so many lives, and what do you think brought you to what you're doing today with you, like, um, not just your book, but your life in general?
Of course, like it or not, our parents are our biggest influence in life.
Agreed.
Uh, our early childhood, who was it? Was it Young that said, "Give me a child until they're 7, and you can have them the rest of their life because I will have made them who they're going to be."
Right.
Uh, I think a lot of my drive came from my father, who I adored. He was a champion roper, good looking, tall, cowboy rancher, third generation here in New Mexico. And his innate honesty and authenticity of being himself. And what I remember most about him was how much he loved to laugh. He was a prankster. He liked to laugh, he liked to make people laugh. And that influenced me so much that from an early age, I learned that life is more a comedy than a drama. And if we can look at it that way, we can survive anything. I think
I
the
agree with
biggest
that.
influence on who I was to become, uh, as an example, New Mexico was part of the Great Dust Bowls. These happened before I was born on the ranch near Santa Rosa, New Mexico. Uh, the Dust Bowls devastated the land. Before the Dust Bowls, the land was lots of water, then came drought, then came dust storms that only eastern New Mexico most of Oklahoma and part of the panhandle of Texas were affected by this, but they devastated ranch life.
Right.
Adaptability came in my family in switching from just raising cattle on a large piece of land to going to sheep and changing the way our life had been before that. Now, of course, this was before I was born, but I grew up with the stories of that change, and they, I think, made me extremely adaptable.
So you think that influenced your
Yes,
life today?
loved school, loved learning, loved being a mother. Each part of our lives, if we love where we are now and live in the present with all of its many reasons to be happy. I look at people, Kat, and I see so many unhappy people. And I think, look at you, you're beautiful, you have plenty of money, and you can't find a way to be happy.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
It is. I agree.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
there's a
think
lot
we
of that
can
today.
always find reasons to laugh
Yes.
and reasons to be happy in our circumstance where we are,
Absolutely.
knowing that tomorrow, in the blink of an eye, it may change.
Right. So that kind of touches on my next subject where, so in my case, I have gone through a total of 3 rock bottoms where it had caused me to go into a full, like, emotional, financial, and in some circumstances physically, not just emotionally but mentally as well, a chaos where I just fell apart, right? There are 3 of those in my life that I can count. Obviously little bits and pieces were in between that has happened, but real rock bottoms. And every time those rock bottoms have happened for me, as horrible as they were, so much had happened while I was digging myself out of these holes, which has practically molded me into what I am today. And I'm grateful for those kind of rock bottoms where it completely emptied the slate for me to give me a empty space for me to become who I'm supposed to be, right? And who, in all honesty, the kind of person I want to be. How many of these like situations can you recall that had brought you to where you're at today?
Oh, there have been so many in my lives, more than yours, but I'm twice your age, so there you
I
are.
can imagine.
We all have these meltdowns.
Yes.
Where you just feel like you're a puddle of grease on the sidewalk.
Right.
And all that will be necessary to mop up the remains of your being is a roll of paper towels.
Yeah.
We've all gone through that. Everyone alive. Some of them more dramatic. I've had some dramatic. I always look at myself as a happy person and a positive person. But yes, out there, at one time in my life, I was actively planning my own suicide. The only thing, I was an adult, I was 48 years old.
Yeah.
I had just lost Prince Charming, the love of my life, and he was killed in the crash of our own airplane. He was a seasoned pilot. Accident shouldn't have happened. He was a medical doctor, a thoracic surgeon, and was on a medical mission of mercy in a storm, and he shouldn't have been flying, but he was, and
Right.
He was killed. And I couldn't see any way that any purpose, any reason for me to go on living without him. I just couldn't see it.
I can't imagine
Yeah.
what that feels
I
like.
had been in a 22-year marriage that produced 4 children, and I was married to the wrong man. But I was determined to not raise my children in a broken home. So I stayed in the marriage in order for my youngest son to graduate from high school. And then I divorced, vowing to never,
Right.
when you say, I'm never going to do that again,
Yeah.
that is exactly what we wind up doing. Exactly.
Right.
So I was never going to get married again, and then Prince Charming walked into my life. I never knew life could be so blissfully happy, joyous every day. And then he was gone, just like that. The last thing I remember is as he walked out of the bedroom at 5 o'clock that morning, and he picked up a pillow and threw it across the room at me. I was still in bed, and said, I'll be back, and I want you in that bed when I get back. Those were the last words. That was one of my lowest points.
I can't imagine.
And the suicidal thoughts, my main concern at that time was how could I stop living but still let my children collect the insurance.
Wow. It's a logical thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a mom.
Right.
We're a mom to babies, teenagers, and we survived the teenagehood of our children.
Right.
And then we have grandchildren, but we're always a mom in our heart. So my first concern was, how could I do this? Well, I'm reasonably clever, and I figured it out. And one day I just woke up and I said, Jane Bradley, what in the hell are you thinking? God didn't create you
Right.
to kill yourself.
Right.
Bill would be ashamed of you. You should be ashamed of yourself. So I got myself busy, sold my mansion in Paradise, and found a job. The job was intriguing, all-consuming, and changed my hair color, and went on, had several flings, never really loved again. But I think that what best explains this cat is I have a granddaughter who is very dear to my heart. Her name is April. She is named for one of my last child, a daughter, who died at the age of 11 months from an insurmountable birth defect. So when my oldest son's first child was born, he named her April for my lost April.
I didn't know
April, I thought everybody knew that.
that. I
thought it was universal knowledge. So one day, April, at the age of about 30, and I were driving down a street in Albuquerque, and April said, Grandma, I have a tough question to ask you, and if you don't want to answer it, don't. So she asked the question, Grandma, if Grandpa hadn't have died, you would have loved him, and you would have lived on the banks of Crooked Creek in Arkansas the rest of your life, and your life you wouldn't have done all the things you've done since Grandpa died. You would have loved him and been married to him, but your life would have been centered around him, and you would have never found yourself the way you did the way you were forced to do
Wow.
after he died. But he died, and you were forced to go make a whole new life for yourself. And she called it Reinvent a Life for Yourself. That was history. Her question was, would it have been better if Grandpa had died the way he did and you went on with your life? Or was it better that he died so you could go on with your whole life?
Wow.
The way
That's a
it
deep
was.
question.
That's a profound question.
That's a
And
deep
one
thought process
I was
too.
not prepared to answer. But it was like I got information from outside. And the answer came instantly. And that answer is, to all of you, and to you, my darling cat, is we're all created to be our very best self, the best iteration of our life, whatever the circumstances are, and wherever we are in life. And that's what I told April, is if Grandpa had lived, I would have lived my very best life. He died, so I went on to live my very best life. I think that's a very comforting thought, don't you,
I do
Kat,
agree.
that we can be our best self regardless of the circumstance.
Agreed. I do.
It's a long answer for a short question.
No, but I love the details. And for April to have that, like, what do you call that? The kind of mind to be able to question such
It's
deep.
profound.
It is.
It's a profound question.
And it's even more amazing that she's able to ask you that question. You know, that just shows the connection that you have with her.
Yes.
And I think that's beautiful.
No. It's important for all of us who are mature women, who have been blessed by God with remarkable lives, interesting lives, lots of adventures to share with younger women, and to form relationships that allow the questions to be asked and to answer authentically,
Agreed.
to be our best authentic self.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of identity shifts you went through with one incident.
Yes.
And I know how hard it is to shift identities, and it did show how hard it was for you as well for this particular I mean, I can't imagine losing Josh. Like, you
It's
know.
unimaginable.
Yeah.
It is unimaginable.
But one of the things, so I read your book, right? And another thing I learned is that I didn't know you had only 5 years with this man.
Yeah.
I can't. I cried reading that part. Because all the things I have gone through with Josh, like, I can't imagine. So right now, you know, I told you about some of the stuff that me and him are going through, where I haven't really shared this yet, but in my next episode, the episode before this? No, the next episode, I think I'll be talking about this, but I've been having intimacy issues. And the only reason we have these issues, because I've been doing a lot of reading about this, where not necessarily just having the miscarriage that I had, but long before that, I've already started this whole thing where I'm taking care of so many people in my head that Josh became one of them, as opposed to my partner.
Your lover.
Exactly.
Yes.
And my lover.
Yes.
And because I had shifted my identity into a caregiver, I had no idea I did that. And so right now I'm trying to find me again, by having to leave my house and my husband so that I can spend a quality me time to be able to get out of that identity. And I had no idea I was in that thing, but like I don't think I know that what I'm going through right now, what we're going through right now, once we get over this hump, our love will be completely transformed from what it was when we first met.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is, none of us know what the word love means.
Exactly my point.
Yeah. Um, as someone who is a woman of faith, I have a good definition of the of love in 1 Corinthians the 13th chapter, where it says love is not jealous, love is kind, love is everlasting. That's a good definition for some of us, but we don't fully understand it because we continue to say, I love my dog, I love
Right.
hot fudge sundaes, and by the way, darling, my lover, my husband, I love you too.
Yeah.
And we use that same word. And so,
And we use it very loosely as well.
yes, we use it very carelessly.
Agreed.
And when we say we love our children, that's a different kind of love
Yes.
than we have for our lover, the lover
Yes.
of our hearts. If we're very fortunate, Bill and I lived for 2 years together in my home in Santa Fe while he got his divorce. Yes. Sweet, nice Jane Bradley. I was the younger other woman homewrecker. But I really wasn't. It really wasn't like that. He was so unhappy. And I was so happy. I was so joyous that I could make him happy. We lived in my home for 2 years, unmarried. My mother stopped speaking to me.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, for 2 years.
my
My
God.
mother would not speak to me. If I
That's
tried
hard.
to call her on the phone, clink, she hung up. Then we got married, and we were married for 3 years. And if I could say one thing to you all, everyone who's listening to this, it's this one thing. Overcoming grief and loss, it's not what you lose, it's what you had to lose. That's a huge thought. Is suicidal, unable to find a way to go on living for about a year over my loss, and then to say, yes, I can go on. It was when I realized that in 5 years, Kat, 5 years, how long have you and Josh had?
Married?
Mhm.
13 almost.
Yeah, but you've been together longer than that.
Yeah, 14 and a half, I believe.
Yes. So, in 5 years, I had more in those 5 years than some women have in 35 years or 45 years. We genuinely liked each other. And trust me, we never had intimacy issues. So it's, if we can shift our mindset a little bit and say, I'm not going to think about, we control our mind. Our mind does not control us.
Agreed.
And if we can say to our mind, each morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to think about learning, getting my pilot's license and learning to be a pilot, and all the things I experienced during that 5 years, knowing a person I loved more than I loved myself. I gave up an art gallery of being somebody in Santa Fe to go live in a remote village at the top of the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas. because Bill wanted to live there in a certain house. So we did. In those 5 years, I had more than I know than some women ever have for 5 minutes. So shift in your thinking can bring you to a point where you're able to say, I can live in gratitude for what I have had and what I know is going to be a fun, adventure-filled future. I know that because I'm capable of constructing it.
Absolutely.
That's the trick.
Absolutely. So, I don't know if I told you this yet, or if we've like seen each other since we had that conversation where you asked Josh what he wanted to be.
Yes.
I think we have seen you since then. And he's like finally getting into the whole pilot thing, right? So he just got the drones license.
He told me he had a drones license.
And I think the last time we saw you was about the time Josh got that license.
Yes.
Right after that, he started looking into actual pilot licenses.
Oh, how fun.
So you know, being specific with what you ask for, right? Like, because
Yes.
I've always asked Josh, if you had all the money in the world and the time in the world, what would you do? But I had never thought to ask him, what do you really want to be? What do you want to be in general, right? Like, I've never asked him that. I thought my question kind of said that, but it wasn't direct, right? So when you asked him that, and he told me he always wanted to be get a pilot license for helicopter.
That's the hardest.
It is.
That's the very hardest.
Yes, it is.
I never went that far.
But the point is, I had no idea he had that dream. And apparently, since he was a kid, he had that dream. Like, since he was so this was like a childhood dream that he's always had that I did not know about. I knew he wanted to have a pilot license, but I never knew it had anything to do with helicopters. So we recently found out that in every Air Force base, or probably any base in general, you know, we're going to Okinawa, so he looked at Kadena, but he also looked at Kirtland over here. But in every base, they actually have this program, I forgot what it was called, but it's for aspiring pilots as well as pilots, so that like they have all the resources. Like, if you want to fly a plane, they have it for you. Like, and
Yeah.
so Josh was like, all I have to do is get the license, and then I can just join this club and be with all these people. And I just thought that was so much fun, that the one direct question that you had asked just blossomed his little world.
You know, when I coach and I mentor, one of the first questions I like to ask people is, who do you want to be? And no one can answer that. It's a very tough question. I want to be successful. Well,
Right.
What does that mean?
Right.
I want to be respected. Well,
Right.
act in a way that will lead people to respect you.
Right.
But people are never confronted with who they want to be. We frequently confuse who we want to be and what we want to do.
Agreed. And that's kind
And
of why.
and they're really, they're eons. Who we want to be will lead us on a path to what we do organically, or
Right.
it should.
Right.
If we want to be a small person that the world never asks very much of, that we're never challenged, and some
Right.
people, they never want to be challenged.
Yeah.
Challenge themselves. They're afraid of surprises.
Right.
They're
Which it's
afraid.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Really.
So they live little lives, and we should not think the less of those people, really. We should allow everyone to be who they want to be
Right.
and do what they want to do. But we should not ever, I think one of our biggest faults as smart, active women, even at my age, is overcoming judgment.
Right.
You know, we can say, oh, well, she doesn't lead her best life. Who are we to know what someone else is?
Agreed.
We're doing pretty darn good if we
Agreed.
can figure out our own lives, let alone anyone
Right.
else's.
I agree with that. Yeah. That's I grew up with my stepmother telling me and my brother, like, we were watching TV one day and there was this high school, I think he just got into college or maybe just graduating high school, I don't know which one it was, but this guy got into the major leagues, right? So we were living in Japan, so the major leagues is a huge thing over there, and we were watching this guy get accepted to this basketball team. And so obviously the parents are happy, he's happy, everything's great, right? Like, this is a great, amazing accomplishment for this guy. And we were watching it in awe, obviously. Me and my brother were still young. We were like nearing our 20s. And this guy was just about our age. And we're all three of us just watching, like, that's amazing, like, good for him. But the last thing she said was, what did you guys do? And yeah, it was
I'm so
a
sorry.
lot of downer, like, comments that, like, a bit of a backhand comment all the time with her. And, like, it's when you live a life where they're always downing you, it's kind of hard to dig yourself out. Somehow I did. But,
well, you realized you had a purpose.
oh, absolutely.
And you knew, even as a child, that this was not your best life.
No, I definitely did know
Yes.
that. I had several, like, not necessarily suicidal ideations, but, like, I did have thoughts of disappearing a lot.
Yeah.
But that was only because I had lost hope so many times when I was younger, but there was another part of me that saw things that I don't think a lot of people have the courage to see, so to speak. And
The inward vision.
yes. So one of those things for me, as I was telling you earlier, was going through that kind of life. I read a lot of self-help books where it was more reading into somebody else's memoirs and seeing what their lives were like. And even though they went through, like, a lot of these books, they went through much harder lives. But I did compare my life to theirs, and I felt like theirs was worse. And in all honesty, that gave me a little comfort, right? Yes. But I also knew that the kind of life I was living at the time wasn't something a lot of people experienced either. Like, there was a bit of an international kidnapping, I call it, because my dad took us without really telling my mom. And she's the one that had the rightful custody, right? And, like, stuff like that, like, people don't really hear stories like that. And I really thought that, depending on who's out there, they might kind of understand or even relate to what I went through. And if my book was on there, who could I help? Yes. And I had that vision, and I think that's what kept me going a lot of the times, is that one day there will be a time when I'll be able to have the courage to write and put my story out there without the fear of all the fears, right? Mine specifically, as you well know, is putting my name on my my story because of, not because of judgment necessarily, but people calling me out on something that calling me out on a lie that I didn't tell, which I think I talked about that in a different podcast in the past. I'll have to look for that and tag it in the description. But if I didn't, I'll have to talk about that. But the point is, there was that little light that I chased my entire childhood into my young adulthood. And when I met the right people, that part of me came into light little by little. And now I'm a writer. Like, it's crazy how, like, things that you had in mind during your youngest days become the thing that you want to do most. Yeah. And it happens. Yeah. It feels amazing.
My experience, although not as dramatic as yours, was my father was, as I said, a great big, tall, happy cowboy, roping rancher. And my mother was a dedicated hypochondriac. She was sick all the time. She was also the daughter of a Southern Baptist minister of a very large church. When she was a girl, you know, this was back at the turn of the century, in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. My mother was quite beautiful. You know, a Mississippi belle who came to live on a ranch in New Mexico. Not a prescription for happiness for her. I was the only daughter in a family of a brother older than me and a brother younger. And every day when I left for school, I can still, at this age, hear my mother's voice ringing in my ears. She would say one of two things for me. You just remember today, Martha Jane, that you're not nearly as cute as you think you are.
Oh.
Or you just remember, Martha Jane, that you're not nearly as smart as you think you are. Well, I knew I was smart because I was always on the honor roll and school was really easy for me. So I knew I had a pretty firm idea that I was okay in the brain department. I was extremely skinny, small for my age, too much curly blonde hair, and I thought the only thing remarkable about me was big blue eyes. So I didn't feel very pretty when I was a little girl. I thought all the other girls grew boobs long before I did. And I didn't feel pretty. And then my mother's words were ringing in my head. Just remember, you're not as pretty as you think you are. Well, for someone who doesn't think that they're very pretty, that's a powerful statement. And I believe in forgiveness work.
Right.
For my mother, I believe that she was raised in this very strong Southern Baptist religion that's different. That was different then. It was hellfire and damnation. And the thing that all women wanted to be was humble and obedient. I was neither. Honestly, I was neither. And my mother was trying to instill in me through very negative language. And sometimes I think about that. How did I get to be this person who can do just about anything that pops into my mind I would like to do. Open a gallery in downtown Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. All of the things. One time I had this friend in the early 90s, a male friend, who called me one day and said, I need you to quit the contract you're working on for the state of Arkansas and go to Russia and become the president of the Russian Tsar's football team.
That's one of the craziest stories, for sure.
Number one, I'd never been to Russia. I don't speak Russian. Number two, I don't even like football. I think it's a violent sport. Never in my wheelhouse. He said, we have a trainer, a doctor, coaches, but he said, I bought this team when I was drinking one night, and it cost me an arm and a leg, and it's costing me an arm and a leg. There used to be something called the EFL, European Football League, which played American-style football. Well, that's what his team played in.
Okay.
And I said, okay. Took me about 6 weeks to buy a warm coat, warm boots, get out of my current contract that I was working on, and get myself organized to go to Russia, to travel all over Europe with a bunch of hunky young men that I didn't have to listen to their stories. All I had to do was make sure that we were winning by keeping the coaches and inspired. My job was to find out if it was ever going to make the owner any money, or if it was just going to be the most expensive toy he'd ever bought. And I look back at that now and I say, how did I have the courage to do that?
Yeah.
And it didn't take me 10 minutes to say, okay, that sounds like an adventure. I can do this.
Right. So what do you think it was that gave you the inkling that, like, this was a good idea to do?
You know, I've always liked to be challenged. I've always liked to challenge myself. It was after Bill's death. It was several years after Bill's death. I was sort of drifting. I was able to get really good contracts, first with the state of Arkansas to develop an incubator program for them at the University of Arkansas, and then with the state of Oklahoma to do economic development projects that involved pure economic development and involved the National Registry of Historic Places. So supporting myself was never the issue. I wanted to do something, and fun is a simple little word I don't like to use, but something that I could stretch myself. Every day I had to solve problems. I like to solve problems.
So it sounds like you really liked was the adventure.
The adventure, yes. I hadn't traveled in Europe very much, and I had the opportunity to be in every country in Europe.
Right.
And
but also the adventure and, like, getting into something you've never done before, if you like to stretch your mind.
Yes. And all of the stars lined up. It was a great adventure. It led me into other adventures. And, you know, in making these big decisions, Kat, I think it's important for all of us to know, particularly as women, because as women, we're sort of put down a lot in our lives. In my generation, more than yours and a lot of our viewers, women were, just remember what your place is.
I actually lived that because I was in Japan. But I'll talk about that in a second.
So, you know, I never really knew what my place was. And if I did, I tried my best to ignore it. So
Yeah.
I think that we have to ask ourselves this question: is what is the worst thing that can happen? I fail at the job, and the rich friend sends me home,
Right.
where I'll do something else.
Right.
What's the best thing? Well, the best thing turned out to be meeting a Russian general and his wonderful wife, and being asked to stay on after the football team ceased to exist, and work in Russia during perestroika in a privatization of industry project. That was really significant,
Right.
and it was meaningful to a lot of people, both in the United States and in Russia.
Wow.
So, if you ask yourself, what's the best thing and what's the worst thing can happen if I do XYZ,
Right.
you're probably not going to realize the best or the worst, but it's going to be somewhere in between. But oh my goodness, look at all of the adventure you'll have in the meantime.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But adventure is not everyone's comfort zone.
It's very true. It
Yes.
is definitely mine. I like getting out there
Well,
into.
obviously you're off to Okinawa, and by the way, I'm going to miss her extraordinarily.
I'm gonna miss you too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I'll tell you all a secret. Her husband is a hunk. He is so pretty to look at. If you imagine the size of a normal door, that's about how big Josh is. He's a weightlifter, was conscious of doing body work, and he's extraordinarily handsome. More so, maybe I see him differently, but more so, he's extraordinarily kind and compassionate.
He is.
And a good-looking, hunky man. I tell you, kids, you got the package there.
I agree, actually. I definitely hit the jackpot.
Yes.
Yeah, with my husband.
He didn't do so bad either.
Well, good, because nothing's gonna change it. So, but so living in Japan, it was still is a misogynistic country, So when I was living there, and as tomboyish as I have always been, so there are ways to speak in Japan where like you talk like a man or you talk like a woman or whatever the case may be, and because I know that it's proper for me to be a woman and speak like a woman, made me speak like a man.
Oh, it's that contrariness in you.
Oh yeah, I never followed the rules, and like if I were Japanese, I think I would have gotten a lot of backlash, but because I was American, living in Japan, I had a lot of breaks, so to speak. So they'd be like,
you were given some grace.
oh my God, yeah, a lot of it too. They'd be like, oh, it's Catherine, it's whatever, like they just leave it at that. But I've had my last boyfriend. I remember, like, I can't remember what I was cussing up a storm about, and he was like, God, you sound so much like a guy. Like, why don't you be more like a lady? I was like, excuse me? And I made it worse for him.
Of course,
just to make it a point.
You did.
He's only said it once in the 2 years that we dated, and never said it again. But living in a country like that, though, like, I think it just made me more me, in a sense, if you get my drift. Yeah, like I was never one to follow the rules, for sure. Another story, I don't think I've ever told you about this one. So, and it was like, I've already lived in Japan for so long and lived in the Japanese society. I had jobs and all kinds of stuff. So my Japanese was like practically pristine. Like I had people thought I was Japanese over the phone. I was perfect, you know. But I was talking to this woman and she was complaining about something, and I had used so when we address somebody, especially if it's somebody who's superior than we are. So my manager, right? I had to put the word "san" at the end of the name, right? Um, but when you're talking to a customer, the manager is now at the same level as me. So I can't put "san" after his name. I didn't know that. That was like one of the few things I did not learn in time before this job that I had as an office assistant. So I'm answering the phones and this lady is like complaining about something, and I was saying that my manager would something, and so I put the word "san" after his name, and she was like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" And she was like, "You give me your manager's name because I'm going to call him and blah, 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 blah. What is your name?" And I was like, "Catherine." And she was like, "Oh, you're not Japanese." I'm like, "No." She was like, "You're American." I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Well, you wouldn't have known any better." And she had this whole 30-minute conversation with me because she was just intrigued with how good my Japanese was. And my manager behind me was like breaking out laughing the entire time. So from the moment I was getting yelled at. Anyway, once I hung up, he was like, "Do you know why you got yelled at in the first place?" I'm like, "No." He had to explain it to me. But anyway, my point in getting to this is there's so many rules, and I hated it. But I hated most when I was segregated from the men. That was the only one I had a problem with. But doesn't mean that Japan's horrible. Like, I love Japan. It was, one of the best places I lived at, despite that part of the culture. But
Kat, the generation I grew up in, America, was very much like that.
Right. That's why I brought it up.
My granddaughter April one day said to me, "Grandma, I hear all this talk about the glass ceiling." And I was one of the very first women Rotarians that were allowed to join the Rotary Club in Arkansas. And it was because the chancellor at the University of Arkansas, there was a group of women in Washington that took Rotary and Lions Club to court. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. This was back in the 80s, because at that time, Civitan, Rotary, Lions, all of the men's club where they did all the business was conducted at those clubs once a week. Women could not join. We were second class. We weren't good enough to join. And the chancellor at the University of Arkansas said, "I have decided to break that glass ceiling in Rotary after the Supreme Court ruling, and I'm going to use your blonde head as the battering ram." And believe me, those
awesome.
Rotarians did not want me in that club.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I did not want to be there. Today, I love being a Rotarian. Just goes to show that was in the late 80s and the early 90s. What time has changed.
Yeah.
We're still fighting the battle for equal pay for equal work.
Right.
Women still make about a third less for the same job than men do. But all in all, we've come a long way, baby.
Agreed. We have.
We have.
So our hour point is coming up, so we'll start wrapping this up. But I do have one last question.
Okay.
So, my business, Beautifully Unhinged.
Yes.
The tagline is "With courage comes bliss."
Yes.
And the reason I have that tagline is because I know that having the courage to do all these things brings the best that you can hope for your life.
Yes.
And I think the word bliss encompasses all of that.
Yes. Bliss is a beautiful big word.
Absolutely. So that's what I chase, right? In all the work that I do, what will it bring? What kind of bliss will this bring into my life? And that can be a blessing from in the financial world, or just bringing me an opportunity that will enhance my books. It doesn't matter. But especially how I react to life. So the more I understand what courage means, and how I can be proactive with my reaction, so to speak, in whatever devastation comes my way. And the latest, as you well know, was my miscarriage. And I took that really well, I feel.
You did.
But that's because I chase bliss, right? Like, what will make things easier on me, but also not forget what pain can actually bring to my life. It wasn't necessarily the kind of pain I would wish upon an enemy, but it did bring a lot of good.
Yes.
My point with that is I chase the word bliss. Is there a word that you chase?
Oh. No.
No?
No, not really. Because life changes so frequently and so drastically
It's
for
true.
me. Would you like to know the difference between happy, joyous, and bliss?
I would like to know.
I think I have the answer.
Okay.
It's in my book. We're happy if we're walking down the street and there's a $100 bill. Nobody's around. We pick it up and put it in our pocket. That makes us so happy.
Yes.
We didn't do anything to deserve it. It's something outside in the world that landed on us and made us feel happy
Right.
in the moment.
Okay.
Happiness is fleeting, and it depends on constant outside stimulation.
Agreed.
Joy starts inside us. We decide to work for a charity that's doing something profound, and we go and help raise money. Mine was the Art Museum in Albuquerque. I raised a lot of money for them. That gave me joy, and it was sustained because I can go there and look at their permanent collection and say, I helped do that.
Right.
That gives me joy in my heart.
Absolutely.
And bliss is nothing more than sustainable joy.
Okay. I
So-
like that definition.
So, it's three different, we use those words interchangeably,
Right.
but they're not.
Right.
They're absolutely not.
I do agree.
We
with
want to
that.
be happy in the moment, for good things happening to us, other people being nice to us, or tangential outside occurrences,
Right.
which are never like joy or bliss,
Right.
which start on the inside and then bliss
Right.
we're able to sustain.
I agree. And that's, we hear a lot of people who say that they just want to be happy. And that's kind of how I feel about the word happy. It's very conditional, right? Like, it depends on what's happening outside of our being that gives us the moment of happiness, which in turn like will cause unhappiness as well if you turn the coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, you can't avoid it. Either one, happiness and unhappiness, but it comes with conditions.
And unhappiness always happens outside and lands on us.
Agreed.
We have to keep that in mind, that we don't choose unhappiness from inside ourselves.
Agreed.
Something happens and makes us unhappy.
Right.
We can accept that and allow it to be part of our life, or we can say, okay, it happened, I'm moving on.
Absolutely.
Adios.
Absolutely.
Which is why in your question, what word do I choose? It would probably be purpose. I wrote my book, Your North Star, which is a journey to find your own path to finding your purpose in order to live your best life. And I have been mentoring and coaching all my life. And I thought I had a lot of insight and things I wanted to say to other people. And so one day I just decided, like you.
Right.
I had written the other little books, Lessons from the Ranch, and other books throughout my life. But this one seemed to be so important because I think I had found a key to finding purpose. Our purpose in life changes. At one time I had 3 children under 4 years old, and then I turned 22. And I was a college student.
Right.
That was not an easy time.
Right.
But that's not who I am today.
Right.
My purpose was to survive.
Yeah.
And keep my GPA up while I was being a great mom to 3 kids under 4 years old.
Right.
So purpose changes as we change.
I agree with that.
And our bones regenerate every 6 years. Once a year, we replenish our blood supply. So our bodies are continually changing. So should our mindset.
Agreed.
And at the root of all of that, I think the one word is, am I living my best life, and am I fulfilling my purpose?
Agreed. That's awesome. That does fit you. So before we wrap things up, is there anything that you would like to touch on that you would like the viewers to know about you, or bring it to light, what your website is, all of that stuff that you would like people to know?
Well, if you're searching for purpose, I encourage you to look for my book, Your North Star by Jane Bradley.
Amazing book, by the way.
Thank you, Kat. And it's available on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble online. My website is Jane Bradley Says. Any of you that have a question that has been bothering you, or that you'd like to speak with Kat's mentor about, you can email me at Jane, Jane, A like apple, B like boy, Q like quick, at gmail.com is my email address. And I'm going to give you something you're never supposed to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's who I am. Mm-hmm. If you would like to set up a Zoom meeting, text me at my cell number, which is 505-710-6484. And I'll give you some time, no charge, just because I love Kat. And I'm so sorry to see her move to Okinawa, but I'm so happy she's doing it. I am delighted that she and Josh and her mom
Yes.
are off for an adventure, and I'm just positive, no doubt in my mind, I am positive this is the beginning of a whole new life for Kat,
It
Josh,
is.
and the tying up loose ends for her mom.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So to clarify, Jane Bradley says, is it .com? Because I don't think you said .com.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
JaneBradleySays.com
Okay.
is my website.
Perfect.
I publish poems, little short stories about meeting. There's one that's on the site now is about meeting my son, Mark,
Oh, I
who-
saw that.
who took his own life when he was 42. And it's worth reading. It's uplifting. You think it's sad, but after his death, I swear to goodness, I ran into him in Tesuque Market in
That's so
Tesuque,
crazy.
New Mexico, and it was pure magic.
That's so
So
awesome.
check it out on my website.
Awesome. So if you liked whatever she has shared today, and again, she's been my mentor for over
10 years.
10 years
Yeah.
now, and she has helped me so much. I read the book and it kind of goes along the way she had written her book, with like personal stories to go along with what she's talking about with the topic of the chapter. But if you're interested in that, definitely check out the book. I loved it. I loved her stories, let's just put it that way. And if again you'd like to get in touch with her, JaneBradleySays.com, and I will put all of her information in the description as well. So you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.